Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Love and Action Network podcast. I'm Dr. Flo, and today we have someone whose journey is one that many people, especially men, need to hear. Our guest has experienced tremendous personal transformation. He's an author, an award-winning teacher, a former competitive bodybuilder, a practitioner of Qigong, and someone whose experiences with grief have led him into a much deeper understanding of healing and spirituality. Please help me welcome Nino Surdo.
Yo,
Yes.
glad to be here.
Is it Qigong or Qigong?
Actually, it's Qigong, but Qi is spelled differently in Asian. You know, in Korean and Japanese, it's Ki, Ki. In Chinese, Qi, which is Qi, or Chi. Prana, they call it in yogic traditions.
Yeah, I love that good prana energy, that good
Yeah,
flow. Thank you so much for joining us today, brother.
thanks for
It's
having
really,
me.
really good to see you here all the way in sunny California. Quick question for you as we get started today. What has brought you the most peace into your life recently?
Retiring.
Okay.
somewhat retired. I think peace comes through stages. I'm fortunate in that, I've always been sort of a half monk, half hooligan. So I've always had that monk-like kind of way of just liking peaceful sanctuaries, home, always being pulled to Eastern philosophies, wanting to sort of disengage and to be in the world, but not of it, but to still be of service. So I think it comes natural for me to seek that peace, but it wasn't always like that. I think you have to go through it to get it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And when people meet you today, what do you hope they experience before we even get fully into the podcast?
Well, when people first meet me, I think like most of us, we judge with our perceptions, acquired knowledge, and likes and dislikes. So I think for me, it's sort of, I don't look like a spiritual guy per se. Neither do any of my teachers. They don't dress in robes and speak with Hindu Indian accents. The ones that influence me the most are the most humblest and simplest, but very profound. So yeah, I don't.
Amazing.
My wife said she was attracted to me because I was, half bad boy and half monk. So
Yes.
it's
We
sort of
love us.
like it's sort of like this guy. The second book I wrote. Angry
Yes.
Buddha.
We love a spiritual badass. We love a spiritual
Yeah.
badass. That's amazing. That's amazing. You've lived several completely different lives already. And if someone only knew the current version of you, what would surprise them the most?
I think people give me compliments that I'm well spoken. I think that people that work out or have sort of a strong energy field, they're looked at and perceived through their eyes. There's other ways to perceive, I've learned over the years. That, we're not articulate, we're not well read, we're not very deep. But I stopped trying to impress people, and I think that's the weirdness of it. When you don't try to impress people, you actually impress them. It's weird when you don't care if they like you. I remember dating a girl once, and I just was myself. I was like, if they like me, they like me. I know who I am deep inside. So she said, my family really liked you, and I said, why? She said, because they felt that you didn't care if they liked you or not. I was like, okay, that'll work for me. So it's kind of a Zen riddle. It's like when you try, it doesn't happen. When you don't try, it happens. Kind of in Chinese, they call it a Wu Wei concept, which is not
Yeah.
putting effort into anything, really, extra effort than you need to.
Yeah, to just go with the flow. Just go with the flow and just be in the flow.
Yeah, and just be happy with who you are. I think what I used to tell my students a lot is be perfect in your imperfections. If you
Mm,
were perfect, you would dissolve in the light and have nothing to learn. We're all a little bit broken. The Japanese have that beautiful art where they break, things that are broken, they lace with gold. I forget what it's called, irigai, or it's some kind of art. And Japanese are wonderful at doing this. So, embrace your brokenness. I think people are really hard on themselves for trying to achieve this sort of perfection in an imperfect world, you know?
Whew, this is going to be a great episode. I can already tell. I saw this guy and
You
like
felt the
met him.
transmission.
Yeah, I just met you a couple minutes ago, and I'm like, yo, this is a soul brother. This is a soul sibling for
Yeah,
real.
man, thank you.
This is just great for me, and I know it's going to be great for those who are listening live and tuning in later. So let's start at your beginning. Who was Nino before your spiritual awakening?
Nino was ambitious and angry. I graduated with a film degree from Columbia in Chicago, and I wanted to be fabulous. I wanted to come to LA, and like most young people, I had sort of a rough childhood. You know, I wanted to be famous. My twin brother came out to see me, and we realized that, or at least I did, that we had sort of an act, and we started doing bodybuilding stuff. Was featured in Muscle and Fitness magazine. I'll speed this up a little bit. We started getting TV and film work, and things were going great. My brother kind of went to the dark side with drugs, and in LA, in any pursuit of creativeness, any city, there's dark roads that you could travel on. He passed away in my arms from an accidental overdose. Kind of went crazy for a while. Completely changed my life, and I'm sure your audience can reflect on their own. One moment can change the whole trajectory of your life. Trajectory, I should say. So that was my moment of, I call it spiritual insanity. And then synchronicity played a part. I met people, things were happening. A friend of mine got me an apartment without even signing a lease. So through that grief, I had these magical synchronistic moments with people who catapulted me into other realms of healing, identity, connection. And it's always been there. I've always felt that I was a stranger in a strange land. Most people do when they get that calling. And you're not special, you're just curious. And it catapulted with my brother passing away, where everything that I thought was important wasn't anymore. I remember I got booked on a TV show as an actor, and it was Tough Guy Number One, Nino. And I knew the writer. And I went to shoot this thing, and I was so cynical and in a weird place. I was like, this is all stupid. I just want my brother back. You're going to die. You're going to die. You're going to die. It was very dark, but kind of awakening. I didn't think this was just all a play for me. So what I thought was something I really wanted in my life became a quest of sorts, a journey.
Let's talk about the bodybuilding. What attracted you to that world in the first place?
Well, my father passed away when I was 13 years old. Oh, no. And I was angry and pissed, and I was a really gifted athlete. So was my brother, but I had to help out my mother, who was an Italian immigrant. So, I couldn't go out for sports. So, and they thought we were lazy. Some of the coaches were like, oh, those twins are just lazy. And the only place I could take out my anger and frustration of having my youth stolen from me in a way with my father's passing was to go in the weight room. It was a great way for me to channel the anger, and I did real well. I remember breaking the bench press record. And then we met a guy. I've always liked the human form, comic books, and my brother and I always wanted to look like those comic book guys. So we started training. I was always influenced by guys like Frank Frazetta, who would paint these beautiful men and women. And I wanted to be a superhero. So we started training with that. And then during the course of my journey, it certainly changed. My idea of fitness, my idea of health, my idea of well-being, it all changed.
In the chasing of that achievement, many people are hoping that it will heal something inside of them. Mm-hmm. Did that ever happen for you?
No. I think what it did was it was a positive channeling for anger, and it didn't heal me. I think healing personally is multi-layered. It's not just waving your hands over someone. You may have to redo your childhood. You may need some emotional healing. There's karmic residue. It definitely changed from a rockin' bod to being happy. I was the most miserable person you could ever meet with a rockin' body. And then I met these Qigong teachers who told me about this, taught me and transmitted this internal system this chi that exists with you. And through the Taoist practice, I practice meditation where it's sort of a direct link into the cosmos, so to speak. Completely changed my whole perspective on no pain, no gain. For years I would gotta go to the post office. Everything was a bench press, until I realized it was kind of doing me more harm than good. So it's becoming softer and more pliable and healing a lot of the seeds of that anger.
Ooh, so good. So good. Tell me about these teachers. How did you encounter them along your journey and your path?
Well, there's a great story in my book, my first book, From Rock to Water. I'll just show it real quick. That's how I used to look. I don't look like that anymore. People go, "Hey, man, you're pretty yoked." I'm like, that was in my 30s. So, and the water is sort of what I became. Again, a synchronicity. I knew a gal in LA. Her name was Nancy Santulo, famous fashion photographer. I did a couple of photo shoots with her for some fitness modeling. And she told me about this guy that she knew. And she said, "Oh, he knows martial arts. He's a healer." And at the time I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. So after my brother passed away, I was just not doing real well with the grief, as you can imagine. I was just pushing it away, not wanting to deal with it. But I said, I need help. I'm breaking inside. I'm broken. And I was looking at a healer in a newspaper. It was an LA Weekly newspaper. There was this Chinese healer, and we talked about skin prior to that, but he looked very youthful. And I said, I should go see this guy. Well, who calls 5 minutes after I have this thought? My friend Nan calls me. She says, "Chris, the guy she told me about, is in town. I booked you for a session. You need to see him." And I said, "You wouldn't believe it." She goes, "I do, but do you?" Like the synchronicity, like looking at healing. She calls me. I meet the guy. I tell a humorous story about how I met him. He changed my life. Not him particularly, but the things that he transmitted and taught for what I call self-cultivation.
Hmm.
So a teacher can give you something. It's like a baby. I'm going to give you a baby, and you need to take care of it. So I can teach you how to meditate. I can teach you how to move the chi, how to connect to direct source energy, but you have to cultivate it. So I did. I studied with him. Matter of fact, I'm seeing him later this next month. I'm going up to visit him up in the Berkeley area.
Amazing. Amazing.
So from rock to water is sort of the metamorphosis of what I went through from bodybuilding, anger, tight, what most men go through, the armor we put on through the muscle. A guy wrote a beautiful article years ago. His name was Rick Wayne, very famous bodybuilder, but he was a great writer. And he wrote an article called "Those Frightened Little Boys in Their Gorilla Suits." And I said, that's because I've met a lot of professional bodybuilders, and they're super nice guys. But I think some of them are harboring that armor, whether it's muscle, whether it's a career, whether it's your narcissistic cloak. Men are frightened little boys in their gorilla suits, which fuels the ego, which fuels some of the positives and some of the negatives, yin and yang. Nope, I lost the volume.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. We have internal forever batteries, but the equipment will fail if it's not charged. There's so many people who are putting on that outer shell that you talk about,
Mm-hmm.
and part of it is due to grief. When people are grieving, what do you think they usually misunderstand about healing?
That's a great question. I think there's many psychologists who have written books on the phases of grief. First, you're in denial, then you're angry, and then there's a couple of other things that you go through. And then, like waves in the ocean, they circulate. Okay. I think people feel very alone. It's not something we're taught or programmed to accept. Some of the yogic philosophies, the Bhagavad Gita talks about you're just dropping the body. Your spirit is eternal. But it's such a hard concept for us to grasp. And then some people say that Maybe the grief is more personal. Maybe it's more about you and less about them because they're fine. They just dropped the meat suit. Maybe you're the one who misses in a way, them. So grief's a funny thing. When people say I'm grieving, I often think, well, is it a breakup grief? Is it losing a twin like me or a parent young? I think the tragic ones are when people um, check out or get called or karmic, whatever you believe in, God calls them, whatever your channel is, when they're young and unexpected. I think that hurts more than a person who was 104 and took a nap and just didn't wake up. So, but grief is losing part of you too. I don't think it's about them. I think something dies in you to be reborn, not in a religious state, but the Buddhists say that we die 1,000 deaths in a lifetime. Every breakup, every shift, every bad thing, everything that happens, it's like sharpening you like a blade. My teacher once said to me, if you haven't cried 100 times, you haven't practiced. This is life.
It's life.
You know what I mean?
It's life.
And man, it's tougher for men. So my hope is, my mission, it's not a mission, it's just my purpose is to teach, not give you a dharma or a theory. Just maybe with my story, other people can realize that tough guys do feel, tough guys do dance, tough guys do cry. That's a frailty of life.
Perfect.
Like you're a musician. I think in Chinese philosophy, there's yin and yang. People know this concept. Yin is creative. Like when you do music, you disappear sometimes. You have to be receptive. So if you're young, so most artists are tuned into the yin channel, the feminine, the divine feminine. It's like when you see people that sing beautifully or play an instrument, sometimes they disappear. They're playing the piano and you see them do this, not Stevie Wonder kind of disappear, but they disappear, through the music, the channeling of what I call the receptive divine yin. Go. Can't hear you again.
You're so powerful that none of my mics want to work today, and that's okay.
It's the transmission. It happens.
Yeah, you're just.
It happens a lot with me. Computers, especially when I'm supercharged. I'm telling we had a hard time just getting onto this podcast.
That's never happened before. Like I got this mindful muscle guy that's just blowing out all of the.
That's chi, baby.
It's so good. It's so good. I'm grateful. Knock out another microphone if you gotta. Perfect segue into this conversation that we wanted to have today around men's mental health. Why do you believe that so many men continue to suffer in silence, my brother?
Well, we're making strides. I mean, the internet and social media, it's a double-edged blade. It's good and really bad at the same time. I do think they're making strides. It saddens me that when an athlete is starting to come out or a celebrity, then people take notice. And that's silly. I mean, but that's the world we live in. So I think men have it tougher because socially conditioned. Big boys don't cry. Toughen up, buttercup. We're not taught unless you have that, again, we talked about earlier, that sort of yin, that feminine energy. And I'm not talking about heterosexual versus gay. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm just talking about the channel that you can channel your art from. And I think it's tough for men. I think, and it's multi-layered because women expect men to be that, but men suffer in that. The provider, go home and bring the buffalo, don't cry, suck it up, so we're being barraged with this social conditioning and false belief in what it means to be masculine.
Yeah. Speaking of which, do you think that masculinity becomes confused with emotional suppression?
I do believe in balance. I mean, I think the perfect example, this is going to sound strange to you and maybe your listeners, but you look at a cat. The cat is very loving. I love cats. I never did before, but that's another story. But if you study, the Taoists say, if you study a cat, you know the way. Like it can be this purring, loving, beautiful thing, but you put it out at night, it's a killer. It's like a silent assassin. So I do think the masculinity, and I got to give the guys, we got to cut them some slack. We're developed in roots that don't allow that because it's considered weakness, and it's a multi-layered problem.
Yep.
But making strides. Look, they have Men's Mental Health Month, which is why I'm promoting my book and talking to wonderful gentlemen like yourself to try to say, hey, man, tough guys can dance, tough guys can cry, get the help you need. And one of the things I say is, I've had a full life. I've had a lot of experiences. And interesting, I always say I've had a very simple but not simple life. Extraordinary, ordinary but extraordinary. And the only tough guys I know are in the graveyard, in jail, in the MMA ring, or in therapy. So don't be a tough guy. If you're going to get help and you need help, don't just do it for you. Do it for the people who love you. It's not just about you. Got to become yin.
Yeah, and becoming yin is what you believe a healthier masculinity looks like.
Oh, I think a healthy masculinity. Yes, I think it's balanced. You could be the strongest guy in the world, but still have compassion of the Buddha. You could sit there in a lotus position and be full of muscles, but still have a teardrop, like when you see the Lord Shiva statues, he's just sitting there, unmovable, but yet a tear just goes down his eye,
Yes.
So I think there's a combination of being masculine, feminine, yin and yang, and the balance that we need. If I take this further, if I could, I had this conversation with someone said, you must kill your ego. And I said, no, I don't believe that. You have to tame it. You have to be aware of when you're operating from it. Because if you killed your ego, you wouldn't get up in the morning. You would have no ambition. You wouldn't know who you are. You wouldn't know your creativeness. You need that juice sometimes. But if it's out of balance, then you get fried and you're out of balance, or you become overly masculine and toxic, I should say. Someone uploaded that software in you. Mm-hmm. I think racists become racist because someone uploaded that.
Agreed.
Because I think we know what's right and wrong, but someone uploaded that software into our perceptions, into our so-called knowledge, and that's what we project out into the world.
So good. So good. Do you think that men need fixing, or do you think men need permission in these days?
That's a great question too. I like those two words, fixing and healing.
Versus permission.
I don't think they need fixing. I think they need to heal their perceptions of what it means to be a man. But like I said, there is strides. I mean, it's really, like I said, with the internet, people are actually saying, have you hugged a guy today? Have you said, hey, are you okay? Because a lot of men will not show that they're hurting. I didn't.
Right.
Everybody would see me in the gym, and the first thing out of their mouth is, how you doing, Nino? And I say, it's, and they say, yeah, but you look so good. And I'm like, see? But it was LA, Hollywood in the 80s and 90s. But as long as you look good, as long as you got the muscles and you look good, you must not be hurting. So a lot of my healing was silent,
The muscles as a mask. The muscles as a mask.
It's the armor. It's the armor we wear. And, for years, I said that anger through bodybuilding and ambition, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to paint a negative image of bodybuilding. It served me well. It was a positive influence in being violent on the streets. So I found things through bodybuilding and martial arts, and then later Qigong, and then later meditation. But I'm at a place now where it's definitely on the softer channel.
That's wonderful. Tell me more about how your relationship with vulnerability has shifted over time.
Well, it's layers. It's like, a lot of mystics say that when you go through a spiritual journey, and that's another word, everybody's spiritual, they're wearing it like a personality accessory. It bothers me a little bit. It
Okay.
seems to be, hi, I'm spiritual. And I talk about in my book, my second book, it's like George Carlin does spirituality. I'm pretty tough. Yeah, it's like I met this girl at a party. She goes, "Hey, someone told me you're spiritual." I said, "Really?" And my brother had just passed away, and I was still in that crazy, cynical world. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, "What does it mean to be spiritual to you, Bambi?" She said, "Oh, I don't know. Spiritual, but you don't know why you're spiritual." She goes, "Well, what does it mean to you?" And I sat quietly. I said, "Everything and nothing."
Mm-hmm.
And when you question the question, people get upset. But at least be able to know why you're spiritual and not just use it as a trendy term or, you know. I think we all are seeking the divine. I'll give you your readers the $1,000,000 secret. You want to find the divine, it's 6 inches down from your chin. It's right here, man. See? That's what you need to awaken. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I lean towards Buddhism and Taoism and philosophies. I've read a lot. I didn't become cynical or dismissive of religion. I studied them and I said, this works for me. This doesn't work for me. This smells of ego. This smells of fear with new robes. You
Yeah.
can parrot scripture, but what are you when no one's looking? Where are you when you're not performing? Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
You know. So Paramahansa Yogananda, this great yogi, said, if God was to choose a place to hide, he would choose each and every one of us because that's the last place we would look.
Woo!
So to me, it's finding the divine within you. You feel me? That's fine. You're going to be a Christian, be the Christ. You're going to be a Buddhist, be the Buddha. Don't just read scripture and be clever. That's not radiating the essence of it all. It's a lot, huh? I'm
The young
trying not to
people.
be. I hope I'm not sounding like I'm
No,
Mr.
this is so.
Know-it-all.
I am being healed by this. I'm really so. Um, we have more segments here, but I just have to take a moment to offer my gratitude to you and to the universe for having met you today, as a healed and healing man. Um,
Mhm.
I'm deeply moved. I'm deeply moved to the point of like almost crying a contact out. Um, it's And that last sentence that you said about where would God hide, the kids would call those bars. But like those,
Oh
those,
wow,
those are
that's
like a
interesting.
rapper, or like a rapper who spits bars. Like that
Mhm.
was that really um, did something to me. What advice would you give to a man who is listening today who feels like he's completely isolated?
Be brave enough to seek help. Help is out there. We have made big strides. And again, I'm not anti-religion. If it's a church group, if it's any type of men's group, it's friends. I think I have a soft ear, even though I look like a character from a Scorsese film. I have a soft ear, because what I tell people is the Buddha said, you must suffer to find compassion. I too have suffered. So I know what it's like. So they know that I have a gentle ear. So find the help that you need. Use discretion. You know, I don't think it's just one way of healing, but therapy works if you can find a good one. Groups, church groups, whatever can get you out of yourself.
So good. And how can loved ones support men who refuse to ask for help?
That's a tough one. You have to encourage. It's really a tough one because if you come at them too hard, what happens? The masculine shows up, right? The fists go up. And this is something I said on another podcast. And I know this is going to blow a lot of listeners' minds. Not everybody is supposed to heal.
Oh yeah.
You get A horse, when you know that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You don't need to lead the horse. The horse knows when to drink when it's thirsty. So, but again, it depends on your belief systems. I believe we come back. Our soul is eternal. So, but I don't think everybody's a healer. Everybody can be healed. It may not be in your karma this time around. So it's a tough one. I tried with my brother, God knows. I had a black belt in codependency.
Come on, black belt.
Codependency was a big one for me. And it usually comes, I'm not going to get into childhood psychology of it all, but it usually comes from a need to be loved and understood. Let's get away from there's two channels people operate from, fear and love. You operate from love, sir. That's why we're having this chat. You're trying to be of service. I can tell by your energy. I'm very intuitive that way. You're all about spreading the love in your own way. And that's your mission. Just like my mission. It may not be your mission, but it's our mission.
We're in it together.
Without forcing it on people.
We're in it together.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Woo, we got some comments coming in because it's live today. Right. They say isolation, fearlessly phoenixing is out here saying that isolation versus solitude is often hard to distinguish. They go on to say, especially with much of the pushing of the narrative, algorithmic conveyances. Mm-hmm. And they also go on to say that they feel so much for men. And then they go on also to say, and what is meant to be healed in each play through, what is meant to be healed in each playthrough is not determined by what the algorithm stipulates as trending or trendy. How do you feel about how the algorithm is playing on men and our egos and all of that?
Well, I'm old school. You sit comfortably, you breathe, you find the divine, you do pranayama, you do self-inquiry. You can't be influenced by the media or algorithms or all that stuff. I think it's dangerous, especially when people have deep mental health issues and all of a sudden life coaches show up in your algorithm. Nothing against life coaches, but if they're having suicidal tendencies, they need a professional, not an algorithm.
Agreed. All right, I got to push forward through my tears. You turned me into a soup sandwich today. To think that we were just strangers a few months ago on the internet, and now I'm taking you into my heart as my soul sibling and big brother along the path.
Thank you, man.
It's a gift. It's such a gift. You're the kind of person that I would have met at a weekend retreat at the ashram. And even though it was completely silent, we would have figured out a way to whisper something. Because
those who have ears will hear. Those who you're open to it, that's why you received the transmission. This is a spooky, folks. It's just a transmission. It happens when you're cultivated well. You radiate a transmission, and I hate to say this, but I've made meta people cry over the years.
Yeah,
I just sit in the chair and radiate. Without feeling like I'm special. It's just something clicked in you that clicked with me. And to believe in the beauty and miracles of synchronicity, of divine intervention, or being at the right place in the right time. Don't ever give up that hope that you have that opportunity.
From hundreds of miles away, we're on opposite coast, and it's just,
boom.
It's just, oh. All right. So there are many listeners who do not know what Qigong is. How would you explain that to someone who's hearing the word for the very first time?
Good question. It's the mother of Tai Chi. So Tai Chi is the forms, and Qigong is more of the internal practices. It's more internal than pretty forms. I come from a strong lineage. It's important to find a strong lineage, not some guy who's on Instagram with 1 million followers. I don't feel any energy from them. My teacher's very humble, comes from a strong lineage, and they have to be able to transmit the energy, and you don't usually meet them often online. I met my Qigong teacher through a friend, and I think I was destined to meet him. So find a good teacher. It's based on Chinese medicine. There's martial qualities to it, martial arts. There's 1,000 different forms of Qigong. People can do research. There's a couple of great books out there. Some are too intellectual for my taste, but the Qigong is the development, spiritual, mental, and medically to help your vitality, your inner Qi. And it also has Taoist meditation, which is mind blowing. If you find a good teacher, you could just sit with them and they'll transmit it. And you can link into them. I know it sounds spooky to most people, but that was my experiences through it. Mind blowing.
Woo! And what changed within you physically, emotionally, and spiritually as a result of having this encounter with Qigong?
Well, I write about it a lot in my book. I went through sort of a Kundalini awakening. It was really painful. My whole body was just changing, like something was changing me, perceptions. And I would call my teacher, who's from England, and he has this lovely English accent. I said, Chris, I think I'm having a heart attack. He's like, oh, good, good, good. Your heart's opening up. Oh, good, good, good. Something just flew out of my back. He's like, oh, good, bloody good. That means your chakras are opening up. So it's hard to explain. There was moments when I used to get on my soapbox and I'm like, nobody's going to believe this shit that I went through. And maybe it was just destined for me to link into the teacher, and then you get what you get. Some people find this word healer bothers me too, but that's another podcast. Sometimes you meet someone that just triggers something in you. So I think he allowed me to link into this healing force, which changed everything. Life became a feeling more than a thought. It was a big one. I could feel.
Say that. Oh, say that again. Say that again.
Life became more of a feeling than a thought.
Mm.
How does it feel? My wife hates me. I'll walk into places. I'm like, ugh, there's no wa here. In Japanese, wa means harmony. I could feel it. We all have that gift. You walk into a room, a person just had a fight with another person. You walk into a room, you don't feel that? You don't walk into a church and people are singing. A girlfriend brought me to a Baptist sermon one time. Man, the energy in that place was cooking from the music. That's frequency. Mm-hmm. That's how God, not the guy with the white beard, the force speaks through frequency. So it taught me a lot of things. It was very painful. I had to redo a lot of the old software. I'm not perfect. Someone asked me what I've gotten from all this. Let me answer this question. So I've just become a connoisseur of my own madness in a positive way. Like when I'm out of touch, I'm just a connoisseur of my own madness. I'm mindful and hopefully awake. I'm not anything. I'm no guru. I don't need people to kiss my toe ring. Wake up. Wake up. I just listened to an R&B song, Wake Up. You must know who the artist is. Wake up.
I would have to Google or ask my partner. He's the R&B expert.
Up. Yeah.
Wake Up. It says R&B song called Wake Up?
Yeah, I think it's called that.
R&B, Wake Up. Wake Up, R&B
Wake song. Up, everybody. I don't know. I'm not a great singer, but I
maybe
like to
it's Skylar Black with Chris Brown, maybe? Wake Up, Wake Up.
It's older than that.
Oh,
that could be it.
No. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes.
Yes. I think that's it.
Yeah. Wake Up Everybody. It's an iconic socially conscious soul song that opens with the famous line, wake up everybody, no more sleeping in bed.
Very powerful if you think about it. Sleeping in bed is your own consciousness, your own layers of childhood trauma or whatever. Wake up. It's a great story. When the Buddha got enlightened, he walked into a village. They asked him, are you a magician? He said, no. They said, are you a god? He said, no. Are you a demon? He said, no. They said, what are you? I'm awake.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeshua, the teachings of that, he was awake too.
He was awake too. He was really awake.
Really awake.
Very aware. And my life changed, when I realized that you cannot wake up people who are pretending to be asleep.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
This goes back to what you were
Very
talking
good.
about earlier about the horse and the water and how everybody's not meant to enlighten and wake up in this
No.
lifetime. Some people really are attached to the suffering of being asleep.
Yeah, and I also don't like when people, I see this a lot on threads. I just want high vibe people. I can't hang around with small talk. I can't hang around low vibrational people. And I said, who did Jesus hang out with?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't use the word Jesus. Yeshua is the word I
Mm-hmm.
use. He was a teacher to me and a great
Yes.
teacher. Um,
Yes.
but, he didn't hang around with people that were evolved. He learned from them. That's your belief system. But he hung around the people. So thinking you need to find your tribe is a little egocentric. You should be able to talk to anybody. But I do feel that people are certain levels of evolution. That helps me accept people. Like you can't teach physics to a kindergartner. You can't shove it down their throat. What did Yeshua say? The harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. It's one of my favorite
Yes.
parables. Like,
Mm-hmm.
being spiritual takes self-cultivation. You have to cultivate yourself. That's what the Chinese Qigong used to use, a cauldron. It's like a cooking process. Like my teacher said, Taoist meditation is like cooking potatoes. Like if you drop a potato in boiling water, it
Mm.
falls apart. So you have
Mm.
to, and that's what the title of my book, From Rock to Water, symbolizes. From rock to water, because water is revered in Taoist culture because it goes through anything. It always seeks the lowest point.
Yes.
It can, if it hits a rock in the middle of the ocean, it'll eventually, you know, start dissolving it.
Mm-hmm.
So that symbolism of nature is another big thing in my spiritual path. I always tell people, if you want to see God, go out in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Go walk in the forest barefoot. You'll see the God forest. You'll feel it.
Woo. All right. So last segment coming up, y'all.
Okay.
Your work, Nino, blends ancient wisdom with modern life. And why do you think people are searching for so many spiritual answers? I know you don't like use the word spiritual. So
Yeah.
why do you think people are searching for these particular kinds of answers right now in our times?
Because the world isn't working anymore. I think it's reaching the breaking point. Well, where I think it's transforming. I think people are seeking something deeper to their lives. Some of it's questionable, the practices, um, but I do have hope that something is shifting. We need bad to find good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like if you look at life, something bad happens, there's always good. Good exists in the bad exists with the good. Okay. Even when COVID hit, everybody was like, oh my God, it's bad. But there was a lot of good things that came out of it. So I think people are seeking a deeper meaning because the world isn't working anymore. People are kind of fed up. They want something deeper. It's unfortunate, like in my case and many other cases, tragedy has to awaken us. But I think people are looking. They're not happy with what's going on in the world, and I think we're isolated. We're social media addicted. We call them connections, but we don't have communities or touch. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I said, geez, I grew up in all these decades. We didn't have any of this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. We had to talk to people. And I think that loneliness, that deep questioning, which is the basis of critical thinking and spiritual pursuit. Who am I? What is this? And if you go further, it's how can I be the pebble in the pond that ripples out in my own way?
Woo. How do you separate spirituality, brother, from performance?
Well, I get that people are trying to make a living doing the spiritual stuff, but it bothers
Mm-hmm.
me a little bit because I don't feel it. I don't feel energy. It's a fine line between ego and
Right.
and branding. You don't have to
Right.
brand everything. Everything's branding, and I get it. Now people are getting Reiki certified. The biggest trend right now, and in my second book, I use this George Carlin tone, and with love, of course, but it is sort of biting. Even when I teach, I'll give it to you straight. I could be lovey-dovey and make someone cry, but I'm pretty tough. I'll give it to you straight. So a lot of the performance is bothersome, but I get that they're trying to connect with people. Um, it's tricky. It's tricky. I think, if you like, I use the internet. And my wife was very motivated because I was just done. I was like, okay, I'm retired as a teacher. I was teaching for a while, and I thought I'm done. And I was reluctant to get on social media, but I've been pushing myself, a connoisseur of my own madness, to say, go out. I started connecting. I did a few podcasts. People are buying the book. I'm open to opportunities or whatever the universe brings me, and let me be of service in my own way. But I always feel uncomfortable when I display something. I'm like, oh no, I'm, what's it called? Imposter syndrome, but I'm not an imposter. I'm very real and authentic and cultivated well.
You're far from an imposter. People are yelling at me in the comments here. They want to know where to find you. I usually do that at the end, but they want to know now. Where can they find you? And this is wonderful that you're coming onto the internet in these ways, because I'm definitely going to follow you to the mountaintop, brother. This is amazing. Where can people find
Thank you. They can find me on, I don't know if social media. I guess they could find me on social media, but Nino Vincenzo numerical 9 at Gmail.
Okay.
Nino Vincenzo 9 at gmail.com. And I don't know what my threads and Instagram accounts. I think it's Rogue Mystic One. I don't know.
We're gonna figure that out, and I'm gonna personally, out of my creative services, and then out of my creative services group, I'm personally gonna make sure that you and the wife get a link tree started for you to put your books and stuff, because
great.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, you are the truth. You are the truth. And these people are looking for the Nino.com, to tap into the.
Again, I'm just sort of that reluctant guru, but I am open to helping in any way I can. I'm a little discreet in who I work with, but I can use the word coach, mentor, guide quite comfortably. I'm not a healer, but I might give you something that may be able for you to heal you.
Yeah. You've healed me today just with your presence, and we know that presence is power. And Fearlessly Phoenixing, I'm gonna put his Instagram and his threads in the show notes when this goes up later. So just stay close to the channel, and then I'll make sure that you get a direct link to hit, because I'm going to be tracking this guy for many decades to come. As well.
If I'm around for that long, I don't know.
You better be, man. What's spiritual? What's up? No, go ahead. What?
I might dissolve into light and do Tai Chi and play ping pong on Happy Mountain. I don't know. But as long as I can be of service, I'm open to helping anybody I can. I was just making a joke.
The time is now. I'm thrilled to have connected with you. A few more questions. Like I said, I usually ask that question at the end, but they were banging on the glass in the comment section to know where to find you right here, right now.
I'm also open. I'm also open to doing workshops and seminars. If people have a group and they want to pay for me to come in and, give my spiel and transmit energy and teach some Qigong, I'm always open. Whatever serves and feels comfortable for me. I have Qi will travel.
Hey,
if it leads me to that.
Yeah, I believe it will. I believe it will. And I know that in the next, I'm putting you definitely in my 2, 5, and 10-year plan to have you on stages presenting at Love and Action Network workshops and things like that. This is a gift. What's one spiritual belief that you've completely changed your mind about?
That God exists outside of ourselves.
Woo! Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
6 inches from your chin. You see, Yeshua, Jesus, the Buddha, all these teachers wanted you to become them. They didn't want disciples. They didn't want organized stuff. They wanted you to become them. So that's the key. One of the keys. There's many keys.
Yeah. Ooh. I'm supposed to be over here hosting, and I'm like having I'm on the verge of a Baptist fit myself. You said you went to that Baptist church? I'm over here like, woo!
Having a moment.
Woo! Oh, hallelujah.
The chi is floating.
It is so good. I meditated today on TikTok and did a group sit today. And so my heart was postured in a way to receive this.
Yes, yes, yes.
Like I truly and I've kind of drifted as human beings do, away
Sure,
from doing my daily sit online or my
sure,
daily
sure.
practice with myself. And for some reason today, in an anticipation of meeting with you online, I just and I would be completely telling stories if I was like, Nino's coming, let me sit. I just felt inclined to sit today. And we did a whole hour and 15 minutes of Nom Yoho Renge Kyo and just really
Yeah, yeah.
getting the energy aligned. And like I said, that's why my heart posture was completely open to
Right.
receive your impartation of spirit today and light. What do you think, or what do you believe is one of humanity's greatest misunderstandings?
I think organized religion took us away from ourselves. I think people don't understand. I talk about it in my second book. Governments are meant for power. I think people don't understand the game that the powers that be are playing. Not to get political, but it doesn't matter what political party you belong to. There's an underlying secret world of power and influence and ego. People have to understand that, not just get upset about who's Republican, who's Democrat, who's spiritual, who's not. And I think people need to rise up, not with violence, but to awaken, like I said earlier. Um, there's so many things that people misperceive. And again, it's everyone's journey to find it. You know, what I like to do is there's a great book by one of my favorite authors who's a Buddhist psychologist. His name's Jack Kornfield with a K. And he wrote a
Yes.
book, and I love the title. Have you known After the Ecstasy, the Laundry?
Mm-hmm.
You still
Mm-hmm.
got to do human. Unless you want to go up in the Himalayas and just meditate your way to bliss, you could do that. But I think it's how do we operate in the world and still maintain our sense of spirituality? It's not easy, that balancing act. It's really
Mm-hmm.
not.
Mm-hmm. I love me some Jack. I've been listening to Jack for the last 15, 20 years. And what you're talking about in part is this idea of what they call a bodhisattva, the spiritual
Mm-hmm.
warriorship.
Right, right,
It's not
right,
warring in the physical. It's something that's happening in the spiritual plane that is powerful work if you take it seriously.
right, right. I like him a lot because he combines, and that's my shtick is I combine practicality with ancient wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I combine street toughness with compassion, authenticity with um, inner awareness. So,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that I wear flowery robes. I mean, I just speak the truth the way I see it. And everybody should be authentically themselves. And I hope, it's like the Buddhist prayer, may all sentient beings be healed. That's how I finish my sessions, my prayer. You send it out to the world. And I'm connected. This is no accident we're connecting. I said, because I was wrestling with retirement. I'm like, what do I do now? I taught for 20 years. I won all these awards. I was always a crazy, very popular teacher. And I don't know why. I mean, the Dean of Education says, you get better marks than my people with PhDs because you do something. So I think I'm a natural teacher, but I know when to say, a sage doesn't get influenced by praise or judgment. He
Yep.
stays the same.
Yep. What did you teach?
Weird. It's in the book. My life's been crazy, man. I taught academics at a design college called the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles for 20 years. And how I got the job is another story. I mean, it was just synchronicity. I was going to leave LA. The opportunities were drying up. I was in a really bad place mentally. And I applied for this job as English as a second language teacher. I was leaving the interview and I said to the heavens, if you want me to stay here, bring me something. And the wind started blowing.
Yes.
Somebody up there likes me. And then I interviewed for the job. I started with one class. I taught critical thinking, ethics, effective speaking, public speaking, professional practices, and I was a hit. I won 3 awards, and I'd be like, what is going on here? And I did have a psychic astrologer. I talk about him in the book. My first book is full of stories of how I found these things. So teaching kind of found me, although I did have a psychic astrologer tell me, he looked at my chart. He goes, you know what's all over your chart? I says, money. At the time, I was like, ambition. He said, teacher. You're a teacher. I said, okay. Yeah. I said, teacher, okay. I bet you say that to all the girls. You have an interesting life ahead of you. I said, okay. Came true. And I taught Qigong. I taught personal fitness. I did a few workshops. So I've always been teaching in one way or another. And then when I retired, I just needed to go monk for a while. I need to get back into my practice.
Yeah. It's so good. All right, let's do a rapid fire round.
All right.
Let's keep these answers to one word or one phrase. What is your one word that describes healing?
Work.
What's your favorite daily ritual?
Qigong, somatic practice, meditation, breath work.
A book that
reading
changed
inspirational.
One more time?
Inspirational reading is good too.
What's a book that changed your life?
Writing mine. I think writing my books changed my life. But there's so many. I've been a voracious reader. There's just way too many to list. They're my teachers. Books are sacred teachers.
Sacred.
They stir something in you.
What's something you've unlearned?
Something I've unlearned. That not everyone has access to my nervous system.
That's a whole podcast, man. That's a whole podcast.
We'll do another one.
What's something you wish every man heard growing up?
It's okay to feel. It's okay to make mistakes. Encouragement instead of disdain.
What's your favorite quote, brother?
The kingdom of heaven is within you.
There you go again with the tambourines. There you go.
Or as the Buddha said, be a lamp unto yourself.
Yes. There you
go.
Woo! Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I'm a morning person.
And what gives you hope?
What gives me hope? I think you have two choices. You can get better or you can get bitter. And I think hope is becoming better. And I have faith that, I always have hope that it's there. It's always darkest before dawn, and the brightest diamond has the sharpest cuts. So there's always hope.
Whew. Man. All right, y'all. We've come to the last 5 to 10 minutes of the pod. This has refueled and refilled my entire cup. We've knocked out multiple microphones. My hair is standing on end under this wrap. You're also an author, brother. Tell everyone about your books. Who are they written for? And what are the transformations that readers can expect from the titles that you brought to share with us today?
This one is about surviving grief, a collection of short stories that I experienced when I lost my brother. And this is something that channeled through. It's kind of George Carlin does spirituality. They're little musings. It's a bit rough. So Street Tao Musings of an Angry Buddha. It's modern spirituality with raw, unfiltered insight. So bittersweet. The first book is bittersweet. They're all kind of funny because I think humor is important when you teach. Otherwise, if you don't use some kind of humor, it just cuts differently. So I like to use humor when I teach and tell stories.
And what are the transformations that you expect people to receive from encountering your books?
They get what they get from it. They may find hope through grief that you can survive and reinvent yourself and find teaching like I did. And then the Angry Buddha, this one, hopefully it just gets them to think about things, patterns in their lives, all kinds of things in there that's sort of humorously discussed with a little edge. It's edgy, edgy truth.
I love edgy truth. It's great
Mm-hmm.
for ratings. LA, LA and New York. It's
Yeah,
great for.
man. Yeah, I was in LA for a long time. Yeah.
It's definitely a culture unto itself. Fearlessly Phoenixine says, "Y'all's energy has me like just excited and happy right now." They also share love and say, "Fantastic live!" Exclamation point. Love this. Thank you both for such an energetic experience. Thank you to everybody watching live and
Thank
also
everybody out there.
tuning in today. If someone only remembers one sentence from today's conversation, what do you hope it is, brother?
Wake up. Wake up. And that can mean many things. I like
Mm-hmm.
talking in parables. Uh, it's funny because now that I'm seasoned as a teacher, I know I don't use senior citizen. I like seasoned citizen. Um, I think it's look within and wake up. Yeah, I think that's what would be good. Don't forget the spark of who you really are. We all have the spark of the divine in us. It just hides. You got to find it. And really, the message is don't be so hard on yourself. I just see so many people you got to enjoy the ride, man. Crack jokes at this absurdity of life. And I think that's what's changing me as older. I'm not as uptight as I used to be. I'm
Can you
starting to
tell these
kind of.
people, please? Can you tell these people how old you are? Because you blew my mind in the green room before
I'm
this
going to
episode.
be. I'm 67 Earth years.
When you told me that shit, I was like,
I know.
what?
When we first met, we're like, what? Yeah. I don't know why
That's
that is. Some mornings I do feel it in the body, especially after all the years of bodybuilding. So,
right.
you know, but
Well,
you got
I'm
to accept
blessed.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm blessed to have you as once again a seasoned soul sibling along the path. And this is amazing. Tell us once again where everyone can follow your work.
Um, let's see. I'm trying to plug in because my phone's dying.
Yeah,
There we
we
go.
went a little longer than expected because this got
Oh,
good.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
No,
Um,
no, this got good. Thank you.
I think I,
Infinite
I
gratitude.
think if you could I think if you could list the Threads account or Instagram, or if people want to directly get in contact with me, Nino Vincenzo 9 numerical 9 at Gmail.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And he also, y'all, I'm going through my. If you want to find him over on the Instagram, he is rogue_monk. ROGUE_MONK_. When you find him, it'll say former bodybuilder, award-winning teacher, author, part monk, part troublemaker, more interested in awakening than approval, and he's open to podcast. And for those of you who are listening now, please have this guy on your future podcast. I definitely for sure am because it's been such a gift today. At Love and Action Network, Nino, we believe that every person deserves to know that they're loved and lovable. And so I'll leave you with one final question today. What does it mean to you to be loved and lovable?
It feels like home. I think we're all trying to get home, man. You know, we're just trying to get home.
So good. So good. Nino, thank you for sharing your vision, your
Thank you,
vulnerability, and
brother. This
your
is this
journey.
is fun.
Thank you for so much, man. I had a blast. I laughed, I
I did
cried.
too. This was a great exchange. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel you, man. I feel a connection to you, and that's why you received it. I mean, although you did your practice before and had a lot to do with it, but there's no accidents. I'm finding myself meeting people that are sort of doing great things, and meeting some brothers and sisters who we connect with, and hopefully, in our own simple way, we can be that little ripple, you know, in a still pond.
I'm so grateful to everybody who's watching and listening today. If today's conversation encouraged you, please subscribe, share this episode with someone who needs it, and remember always that you are loved and you are lovable. Until next time, keep choosing love and keep putting your love into action. Thank you, Nino.